So I'm not going to do a door intro because this is just one of those where it's a little bit too much of a heavy topic that I want to talk about. I'm not really in the mood to doing anything silly. I want to talk about a new law that's going to be rushed into Australia, which does actually affect Americans, and I will explain in this video when I play this clip. But basically, yeah, I talked about in one of the other videos that our government, along with the UK government, are trying to potentially ban X. I've talked about that. Of course, I've had people in my comment section absolutely deriding on the government, saying that it's all about kids, when it's not about protecting children. This was never about protecting children. This was simply a way for governments to push draconic laws to suppress speech, suppress the ability to certain information, control the flow of information. And of course, when you point that reality out, you have people that have no critical thinking whatsoever rush into the comment section trying to absolutely deride this because it's all about fake heroism. And that's the sad reality, really, is that some people are so brain dead that they're incapable of critical thinking to the point of seeing what exactly is playing out. I predicted this when the under 16 ban went in place, which, by the way, still has not really actually helped at all. But of course, the mainstream media isn't going to tell you that because they're politically captured as well, along with certain other content creators that will not talk about this, even though these rules are getting worse and worse and worse, because certain political content creators that are heavily captured by these groups. And so we've got new gun laws coming in, which, even if these gun laws were put into place before the shooting that happened in Bondi last year, it wouldn't have changed anything. It was the Australian government that allowed these individuals that were on a watch list to have possession of a gun, which is the insane part, that we're meant to go through checks and balances before being able to have and purchase a gun and have the license to have a gun, and yet the Australian government allowed people that were on a watch list to possess these weapons, which to me just shows that, in my opinion, the government was just willfully okay with this. They knew the consequences. And might I also say that over the last couple of years, many clips have been shown that Albanese is very much pro-Palestine and pushing these ideologies forward. I mean, you only need to look at his cabinet. Again, apparently I might go to jail, so I will simply play the clip and you can see for yourself.
Right, so we all know the Bondi incident, and we all know that Anthony Albanese and his crew came out directly after the incident and blamed guns and speech. Now, thanks to Oz vs. the Agenda for breaking down the bill that the Anthony Albanese government will debate next week. And it looks like it's going to pass because Liberals will be supporting it. So here it is. The Combating Anti-Semitism, Hate and Extremism Bill 2026. It has been published and it's worse than you think. It criminalises speech that merely causes fear, even if no harm occurs, 5 years imprisonment. Defines public places so broadly that it includes internet, meaning posts, videos, tweets, memes, blogs, all fall within the scope. The law states it is irrelevant whether hatred actually occurs or whether anyone truly felt fear. Hate preachers will get a loophole exemption from a purpose of religious teaching or discussions. So for example, if someone's reading something from the Quran, they get a pass with that. So let's just stop there and let's quickly go through all this. It criminalizes speech that merely causes fear. So for example, if someone were to come out and say, we want mass immigration to stop because we want a younger generation to be priced back into the housing market, and then a whole bunch of people come out and say, that's fearful language.
And just to expand on that, that would mean any form of criticism towards the government for any decision they make, pretty much like this, can be seen as hateful. Like, it's so broad that no matter what you say, it could fall under it, which means they can just find an excuse to label something as hate speech. That's the big underlying issue, is that if used in the way that it's in the context, everything falls under it. It's just a matter of them coming up with the reason and say, well, this is how I felt, this is how I interpret it, twist it however they want, and boom, you're in jail. And we'll just shut you down.
Does then that person get thrown in prison for 5 years? And it also goes on to here say, the AFP minister can declare prohibited groups without procedural fairness, including relying on retroactive conduct. That power can extend to actions that occurred outside Australia.
Outside Australia, notice that? that can occur outside of Australia, which means the Australian government could turn around and say anyone outside of Australia, say in America, saying, hey, you're criticizing the Australian government. Nah, that's hate speech. We're now going to put a warrant in. And this is why I think it's important that especially American politicians see this. Because I don't think UK or Europe or Canada are going to care. Let's be honest here. Europe and the UK and Canada are all completely on board with this kind of stuff. They're pushing their own different versions as time goes on. It is pretty much the US that might be the only one that might really have an opinion against this kind of rhetoric. So it comes down to that fact of like, okay, maybe if enough voices hear about this, and again, find the video itself, you can find it here. If more people talk about this in the US, I think maybe there can be enough attention brought up quick enough that maybe we could get some type of maybe, I don't know, maybe politicians in the US could actually do something. Wishful thinking that Trump would come out of thin air and be like, you know, save Australia and be like, you know, I'm going to throw a 300% tariff if you push this kind of draconic laws, and suddenly the government just buckles under pressure. It's wishful thinking, right? But if I don't try, then how do I know? I don't know if many content creators are going to talk about this outside of the ecosystem, but I hope. I really actually do hope. So if you do want to share it, do.
Penalties include up to 7 years imprisonment if you have a membership in a prohibited group, sentences to as much as 15 years for supporting, training, recruiting, or funding a banned group. This part right here has got everything to do with destroying the NSN and the White Australia Party. I think that's what they're called. I mean, if I was in the NSN right now...
Based on what I've heard, they're basically disbanding right now. I actually didn't even know about the party until all this information. And yeah, they're basically just straight... I heard that they're just straight up disbanding. Because this law is basically designed to destroy that political party. And there's a potential that they could be using this to try and rush it in before the state election, particularly in my state, to basically squash out One Nation, which is a political party that has been gaining a lot of momentum, which you'll hear about in this clip.
Or if I was a member of this white org party, I mean, you guys are getting thrown in prison. That's the way I see that. And then it says here at the end of it, 144 pages, zero mention of radical Islam. Makes sense. I mean, it's Anthony Albanese and Tony Burke. Is anyone surprised? My question is the left going to be policed on this, or is it just going to be the right?
And it will be. It will be the right. And I'll expand on this soon.
Do the left get to say whatever they want, or is it going to be the right that are going to be suppressed with our speech? And how far does this go with prohibited groups? You think that they're going to stop at the Nazis? You think that they're going to stop at NSN? Do you reckon they'll go to One Nation and say...
And that's the concern that I have, is that I believe they're going to go after One Nation, because One Nation has been gaining a lot of popularity. It's very much pro-Australian, very much, in a way, it's very much similar policies to what Trump has. And so I believe that the Liberal and the Labor government have both seen this as a threat to their political power and their seats, and they've decided to work together to try and squash out any other political opponents that could be rising up. And that's what I see in this. This is the Labor and the Liberal government working together to basically squash out every form of competition that can be available. And I don't know how this is going to turn out. It's hard to know. Honestly, it's a sticky situation. As someone that's in Australia, it's like, what can I do? Go to America? It's something I've considered. It's something I'm considering. And people say, oh, but America's got their own problems. You've got it a lot easier than what we do. At least you have your rights. Ours have just been thrown out the window. And my fear is that Australians won't say or do anything about it. A lot of them will basically bend the knee. And because of the fact that the Australian government is bringing over a lot of people into the country that are going to vote in their favour, they're kind of stacking it in their favour to try and make sure that they win all these elections and they win as many seats and then push out any competition. In my opinion, it feels like they're kind of rigging it.
Say you're a prohibited group. Don't think that's too far-fetched. Remember in 1996 or whatever it is, they threw Pauline Hanson in prison? Do you remember that? What's your thoughts?
So, I'm very concerned. I am absolutely concerned about where this is going, because I just, yeah. And it's not, I feel like unless Australians really kick up a stink, and I mean, we've got our state elections coming up, but here's the thing, if they rush this law through and then quickly, you know, label all these political parties as extremist groups and prison them all, it's like, you basically, your vote is no longer valid, because it's like, oh, well, if you vote for any party other than Liberal or Labour or the Greens, they might shut those parties down, so it's like, adios, you're out the window. And so it's just going to, in a sense, Australia is becoming a totalitarian dictatorship. One party is slowly consolidating, or in this case, probably two parties are consolidating all the power. And at this point, they'll probably just become one party, because the Liberal Party doesn't really have much power anymore. They've been absolutely booted out in many situations throughout the last elections and stuff, and specifically state elections. So it's like the Labor Party is just slowly consolidating power. And now our right to speak, our right to voice our opinion, our right to vote is, in my opinion, slowly eroding away. And I feel like the only people that will be able to really be able to escape this is those that have enough money to afford to just sell everything and just chip over. Because again, if you sell stuff, the government loves to tax you. They love excessively taxing people. But that's the thing, like, you'd have to sell everything and ship over. And then you have to be able to get a visa in the US, and it's, yeah. In part, I'm kind of speechless. I don't know what to say about this, because it's like, also they're looking at banning X. It's like the flow of information. This is just cracking down on everything. So you're only allowed to see what they want you to see. And if you have an opinion, it's like, at that point, you might as well not have a social media app. You can't do certain things. It's just like, and then the government just slowly keeps taxing and destroying the cost of living, and no one can afford anything, no one can do anything, and we're slowly eroding away. I don't know. It's concerning. It really is. I'll see you in the next video.